guys and bad guys, cowboys and Indians, sinners and saints, masters and minions. They're all the same to me. They're all the same to me.
Welcome to Fence Post Politics, the only place for unfiltered, nonsensical, probably fake news that you never asked for. Brought to you by the Burning Daylight Podcast and your hosts, myself, Matt McKinley, Aaron Ellis, Tim Martin, and Rob Jost. Now let's have a little bit of fun, talk a little politics, and tell a dirty joke or two.
And you call it trick magic, might have fooled everybody, but you didn't pull nothing on me.
Well, howdy there, Daylight Burners. Hope your week's going all right. Another crazy one. I meant to look up who is credited with the quote, "May you live in interesting times," because boy howdy, do we live in interesting times. So we'll start off with the news that's been kind of dominating here the last couple of days. Matt Gaetz invoked the what did they call it? The vacate the chair. So the chair being the Speaker of the House. It was one of the concessions that the Freedom Caucus and a group of it's only like 10 or 12, maybe 15, and I think there was 8 Republicans that essentially killed Kevin McCarthy's reign as Speaker of the House. And it's the first time in U.S. history that we've ever removed a Speaker of the House. So essentially, it's similar to on the parliamentary system. So Canada, Australia, the UK, they can hold a vote of no confidence to remove the prime minister and kind of shake up the government a little bit. And this is I don't know if it's exactly like it, but pretty damn close. And it's I remember when they had this fight. So I think it was back in January when the new Congress took session, and the Republicans won back the House, but they only have a 6-vote margin out of 435. So they very small majority, and it took like 15 or 16 different ballots to finally get Kevin McCarthy elected as Speaker of the House, because Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and like I think maybe Chip Roy and a handful of others. I think maybe Thomas Massey was in on it for a little while, but they held out to get some concessions from Kevin McCarthy in order for him to get their vote for Speaker of the House. And Matt Gaetz was on the Tim Pool show here the other night, or here a while back, talking about it. And so it was people, policy, and procedure was the three things they wanted. So people was they wanted certain people on certain committees in order to get the bills that they wanted passed through committee. So however, a bill always starts in a committee. The committee votes on it. Once it passes committee, if it does, it goes to the speaker, and they're supposed to. And then when the speaker calls a vote, They end it. Just like that. Just hammer down the gavel. Um, well, when Pelosi was Speaker of the House, they had essentially set it up to where she controlled everything that happened in the House. So previously, I believe, don't quote me on this, but the way I understand it, before Pelosi changed a bunch of the rules, if a bill made it out of committee, it had to go to the floor for a vote. There'd be debate, amendments, whatever, but once it made it out of committee, it'd go to the floor for a vote. And under her tenure, it was more of a she chose what got to go to the bill or to the floor for a vote, even if it made it out of committee. So, I don't know how accurate that is, but I wouldn't be surprised. But they changed a bunch of the rules to make it easier to get some of the bills onto the floor. And one of the other main demands on like the procedure side of things was no more omnibus bills, where they make one giant spending bill to give them enough time to allegedly put together a budget, so then they can proceed forward like a normal operation. But I believe they haven't passed a budget since I was in college. In like '08, I believe, is the last time they passed an actual budget. Since then, it's been a series of kicking the can down the road. They can never agree on a budget. So what they end up doing is they bundle all the spending for all the departments into one giant ass omnibus, that they call it, bill. Usually it's like several thousand pages long, and they cobble together this behemoth of a bill in a series of backdoor, closed door meetings, back room, under the table type deals, and it gets a bunch of shit just thrown in it. Every single congressman and senator is trying to get a certain amount of tax money from the federal government to their state or district. Keep the constituents happy, rather than hammer it out and doing the job like it's supposed to be done. Anyway, that was one of the big concessions they got out of McCarthy, was that they were going to bring, say, like defense spending. That was one single bill. Energy spending, that's another bill, and you had to vote on all of them. I think they were maybe roll call vote. There was a whole bunch of kind of nerdy technical shit that happened, but it was so, to his credit, McCarthy followed through on some of those things, but at the earliest possible convenience, he bailed, and it was on the eve of a government shutdown. They signed a 45-day, what they're calling a stopgap spending bill, which, once again, it kicks the can down the road for 45 days. And it's a giant spending bill that nobody had time to read or cared to. And there was very little debate on any of it. It's thrown together. Same way it's been happening, like I said, since about '08 or so somewhere in there, roughly the entire time I've been out of college. And to his credit, Matt Gaetz called his bluff, and one of the other little nerdy things was they changed the House rules so that any individual representative, so any member of Congress, I don't know if that's voting or if that includes the non-voting members, but any individual member of Congress or any individual representative can file a motion to vacate the chair. So anybody, if they're pissed off enough at the Speaker of the House, they under the current House rules can file a motion to vacate the chair or kick out the Speaker of the House, and it has to be brought to a vote. So there was a motion to table the issue, which means put it off for another day, and I believe it was to table it indefinitely, which means it's not coming back up. And there was enough Republicans that voted to not table it, as well as all the Democrats, which the Democrats are really kind of loving this for right now, because the Republicans do look a little inept and unable to govern. However, I'll save my analysis for on this whole issue for a little bit later. Long story short, there was enough Republicans, so I believe it was 8 in total that they ended up voting with all the entire Democratic caucus to not only we're gonna go ahead and bring this up for an official vote. We're not gonna table this matter. So that motion failed. And then they had to bring up the vote to vacate the chair, and 8 Republicans voted to kick him out, and all of the Democrats giving him the majority, and Kevin McCarthy was forced to step down. Turned his gavel over to this little fella here, Patrick McHenry. He is some goon from North Carolina.
Subject to the call of the chair.
Slamming it down with authority. Dude's wearing a bow tie. I was really hoping the other guys would be on the show tonight. I wanted to make fun of this guy so hard. He looks like he's taking fashion tips from Glenn Beck and like Orville Redenbacher maybe. Who the hell wears a bow tie these days? I mean, I don't even know when that was really a popular thing. I mean, like barbershop quartets, and I don't know, maybe like Bill Murray when he goes on Conan O'Brien's show, and he always has some weird costume, like he dressed up as a jockey one time. And but so I could see like Bill Murray wearing a bow tie, or but typically it's just kind of like clowns and barbershop quartets. That's kind of about it for bow ties, or well, I mean tuxedos, I guess, but that's a different deal than a suit. So I don't know. I find it hard to take a guy serious that wears a bow tie to his job, and he's not a butler or a clown or a member of a barbershop quartet. So anyway, now that guy's like the temporary, he's an interim champ, interim Speaker of the House, temporary, pro tem, something. I don't know what the official term is, but it's kind of a big deal because it's never happened before in U.S. history. There was an article here that I had pulled up about why the Democrats did not bail out McCarthy, which I was kind of I didn't think they would, but you never know. Democrats and Republicans at the national level, in the halls of power, they're not that much different from each other. Their policies all kind of line up, pretty identical to one another, and it's I mean, I wouldn't have been real surprised if they had got a few like of the blue dog, swing district type Democrats to be like, hey, we need to get to business. We've only got 45 days to throw together another massive pile of shit that makes us not have to do any real work for another year or so. And, you know, directly contributes to the high inflation and just the overall growth and rot of the federal government that's just sucking the soul out of America. So I think it's a good thing that Matt Gaetz called his bluff. Like it's kind of refreshing. I don't agree with Gaetz on a lot of stuff. He's Aaron will call him libertarian on this issue, and I guess on this issue he kind of is. But Matt Gaetz is more of a populist. He's not afraid of wielding power. He just he wants to be the guy wielding power, you know, and so that makes sense in my head. He's definitely kind of a Trump guy, but unlike Trump, I think Gaetz actually is kind of principled. Trump's always kind of had a finger in the wind, and he's used it to his advantage very well. And like he could flip flop in the same goddamn sentence, and he, I mean, has, and just like, I mean, it's like nothing there. It really, it'd be intriguing to me that if he actually does get convicted and like, you know, it makes it through all the appeals and whatnot, and they do find him like guilty of the, you know, conspiracy to defraud the government or whatever, or conspiracy to whatever all the conspiracies are, and you know, and gets removed from being able to run for office. Like I hope that doesn't happen, because there's some people that are really not going to take that well, and that's not going to be good. But I'm also like intrigued. It's like one of those really good cop shows that like each season kind of gets better. It's kind of like a Breaking Bad where the suspense just keeps building, and you're just like, fuck, are they gonna get him? Are they gonna fucking get him? Solid entertainment, man. But so I don't know if they will, and they're trying like hell. It seems like, unlike with Hunter Biden, he pled not guilty while all this hullabaloo around the Speaker of the House was going down to gun charges, which honestly I think he should. I think he should be not guilty for being on crack and buying a gun. I know that's against federal law, but I think that's an unjust law. I think there should be very few restrictions on guns, and honestly probably any restriction is I believe is a violation of the Second Amendment. But all that being said, still kind of a big deal that the president's son was you know, who is pretty openly anti-gun. He says he respects the Second Amendment, but he just wants to take all the guns that you like, you know, would be pretty useful if say somebody to defend yourself, if say somebody was trying to indeed come get your guns, or you know, anything of the sort. He wants to take those guns away and leave you with the old crappy guns that you know, our forefathers won the independent the War of Independence with, Revolutionary War. They want you to have muskets, and as Uncle Joe's fond of saying, you know, a double barrel 12 gauge. Just shoot that right through the door. That'll teach them. That's all you need, man. All you need for them dog-faced pony soldiers. Anyway, so it is Also seems like a pretty big deal that a pretty vocally anti-gun president, his son, is indicted on felony gun charges, federal gun charges, um, federal felony gun charges, I believe. Maybe it's a misdemeanor, but either way, federal charges. That I think he should be acquitted of because, like I said, I'm also, I try to be as principled as I possibly can on certain things, and gun rights is one of those. And I think it's horseshit that it's a felony that a dude that liked to smoke a little crack, but also saw the need to be able to defend himself with a gun. I know guns are used a lot in the trafficking of drugs and the selling and turf wars and whatnot. But all the like the innocent people that get caught up in the middle of all that violence, they ought to be able to own a gun to defend themselves, even if they are the customers of said drug dealers. Just because you smoke a little bit of crack doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to own a gun. Now, if you've used a gun to steal somebody else's crack and then go smoke it, well, that's a violent crime, and you should be punished accordingly. But just for being under the influence, like probably not smart. I mean, obviously not smart, but shouldn't be a crime. But either way, kind of a big deal, you'd think. Seems like before the whole this whole Trump and now Biden era, previously to that, you'd think that'd have been a pretty big story. Lot of hard questions about that directed at the White House press corps, but not a bunch, like starting to pick up. But I think it has way more to do with Biden's age, and I think the people that are actually running the show are getting pretty worried about being able to beat Donald Trump with Joe Biden, because that guy is not doing great. I mean, he's there, and most of the time he's upright, and I guess truthfully, most of the time he's awake when he's in public. But he's not good. He's falling upstairs. He's tripping over sandbags. He just wanders off stage whenever, not real sure where to go. But then there are other times he just he hits a beeline and just leaves in the middle of something where he'd normally stay. And then when he does, he hits his little his little capstone to his speech, and then he wanders off the wrong side of the stage and just looks confused, or he starts rambling and it becomes more and more incoherent, and then they just play him off the stage with music. And I'm not real thrilled about Donald Trump's age either. He's not too far behind Joe Biden. However, there's no way you can let Joe Biden debate Donald Trump in this these upcoming presidential debates, because it's going to be a disaster. I mean, it's going to be a glorious train wreck to watch. However it happens, even if Trump's overplays the asshole card, which he's kind of prone to do. If he does, it'll still be funny, but I don't think they're gonna have to like mainline Adderall and probably meth right into his dick, like right in his dick vein, to keep him snappy enough to keep up with Trump, because even though Trump's an old fuck too, he's still pretty quick. He hasn't lost much off the old fastball. And Uncle Joe, he's looking like a Jamie Moyer when he played for the Rockies. It's kind of a deep cut for any of you baseball fans. You know what I'm talking about. Jamie Moyer was like 50, still pitching in the big leagues, and top speed of like 72, I think is about what he threw. I mean, just he looked creaky. So like even though he was in the big leagues, like there's a lot of, like, most of your good high school pitchers are just power and pitches way faster than Jamie Moyer, who's like was in the Rockies starting rotation at almost 50 years old. Like, oh, I mean, I guess hats off to him for toughing it out, but man, he's man, I didn't want to. I always dreaded when Jamie Moyer was pitching. Just like, oh, how bad is he going to get lit up today? And that's kind of Uncle Joe. Even if they do just mainline that, the cocktail of Adderall and meth straight into his dick vein. Even if they do that, you're still at best getting Jamie Moyer when he was with the Rockies. That's like best case scenario, where you're just like, he gave up 3 runs, but he didn't break anything. He didn't disintegrate on the mound. So we'll call that a win. But like, this would be this would be Jamie Moyer just pitching to, I don't know, like Shohei Ohtani, repeated, just like one after the other. Like that's all you're gonna face tonight is Shohei Ohtani, and it's a National League game, so both pitchers bat, so you just pitch to each other all game, and you're just like that. Jamie Moyer might die just from the onslaught, and that's kind of how I feel about a Trump Biden debate. And I want it to happen. If indeed these are the candidates that America has seemed to choke down, even though no vote's been cast yet, it seems like that's the collision course that we're headed down is another Trump Biden, and I'm starting to talk like Joe Biden with his stutter. Yeah, it seems like we're on a collision course for another Trump Biden race. And there's rumors that RFK is making a big announcement here next week, I believe. Pretty sure he's going to run as an independent. I've heard rumored that he's going to have Tulsi Gabbard as his VP. I'll believe it when I see it, I guess. Makes sense, I guess, in my head. I don't know how that works out for him. Probably not any chance they win. But maybe they could pick off a state or two, or like maybe pick off that one district in Maine, or what's the other, Nebraska. Maybe they could pick up like a single electoral vote, and then it might throw it into enough chaos where neither the Republican or the Democrat get the majority of the Electoral College, so it gets sent to a delegation of states in the House of Representatives. So each state has one vote, and they vote amongst themselves in the House to select any of the candidates that received an electoral vote. So, I mean, it could throw a wrench into things for sure. I think in the long run, it probably hurts Trump's numbers more than anything because, RFK kind of speaks more towards the libertarian-leaning Republicans more than he does a Democrat. It seems like, but who knows? He is a Kennedy, so but that's also nothing official yet either. So, but it seems like that's probably going to be the case, that he's gonna run independent. We'll see if he doesn't indeed choose Tulsi, but who knows? But all that being said, we've got another crazy election coming up because now they got to find a new Speaker of the House. Aaron was not a fan of this move. Rob thought it was dumb, but he thinks it's going to play into the Democrats' hands. So he's all for it because he's a liberal Jew. I don't know. Is my honest opinion. I know it could get wild though. So far, Steve Scalise, who is the House Majority Whip, would he be like the number 2 in the House? And he's thrown his hat in the ring. And then Jim Jordan, who's he's right now the chair of the House Oversight Committee. He's kind of if you remember Trey Gowdy, he reminds me a lot of Trey Gowdy, kind of a pit bull when they're doing their committee hearings and asking. Well, it's not really so much. They do ask questions, but they also, each person gets like 5 minutes of time to question the witness of the, they're before the committee, and most of their time gets spent on grandstanding, and then they'll ask a kind of a vague question, and then argue with the witness for the rest of the time, and nothing really happens. But they get good sound bites out of it, and Jim Jordan's pretty good at that. It seems to be his that's kind of his playbook. I don't know. He might make a good speaker. The only guy that I trust in the House is Thomas Massie. And he was not a fan of the move. But he did say that he fully endorses Jim Jordan for speaker once Jim Jordan threw his hat in the ring. So I'll default to his judgment on that. I kind of disagree with him on the on the removing the speaker. I think it's a pretty risky gamble politically. But also, I mean, at some point you gotta stop getting bulldozed over. And it seems like they're trying to send a message, whether it's received. I mean, I think it's been received. It's not been received well. But my thoughts on it, I'm doing my best not to take the bait from the media and treat this like it's some sort of calamity. And I will say the stock market as a whole is probably going to take some sort of a hit. I know defense contractors are taking a hit, and I know that because I own a little bit of Raytheon and Lockheed, and they are both down like a motherfucker. um, because a lot of this the spending fight has to do with the Ukraine war, and Raytheon and Lockheed and General Dynamics are making a fuckload of money off of this Ukraine deal. So if that funding dries up, their stock price is going to get a little pinch, and you've already seen that. So even though it hurt my pocketbook a little bit because I sold out and bought some big military stock, but hey, they'll find somewhere else to send bombs to. Don't you worry about that. That stock will rebound. I'm almost positive. But I think, although it is a risk that, you know, they could completely lose a lot of face on this deal. I mean, it could backfire pretty hard on them. But I don't see Hakeem Jeffries, who's the House Minority Leader. I mean, maybe there'll be some moderate Republicans that might get frustrated and just go ahead and vote for Hakeem Jeffries, but I don't see that happen. They would be immediately primaried. Like Trump would put his full weight behind a primary challenge of anybody who voted to elect a Democrat Speaker of the House. So I think that would be unlikely, but it is a possibility. And like I was saying before, once you get up in those higher ranks of both parties, the people that actually wield a little bit of power, like real power, yeah, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on. They're pretty much in agreement on most everything. So it is a possibility. Like I said, it's a pretty risky gamble. A little bit of uncharted waters, but I will say they're handling it pretty well at the moment. And because we live in the Trump era, it wouldn't be really truly excellent if Trump was absent from this, but he's not. So this is fun. This is really fun.
We only have one choice to save America, Alex, and it's President Trump. I've supported President Trump from the beginning, just like you have. President Trump has a 4-year proven record. His policies were working. His policies were stopping the globalists. His policies were against the communists.
Plus, they handle anybody. I mean, my God, they act like he's high noon to a vampire.
That's right. They do hate him.
I don't know how he keeps his voice like that.
You know who hates him the most?
Vocal cords aren't just
DC. So I'm going into this next speaker's race, and the only candidate I am supporting is Donald John Trump.
Yeah.
Because Washington, D.C. needs to be reminded. This town needs to wake up and accept the fact that Republican voters all over the country want him back in the White House. He's the only leader of the Republican Party, and he truly is the only person that we can trust to save America. And through that, Alex, that is saving the world. There's many people all over the world hoping and praying that we put President Trump.
So among others, you've got Steve Scalise, would be a pretty logical pick. Like if I was a betting man, and I am, I wonder if my bookies got any odds on the Speaker of the House. Surely they do. I'm gonna look it up here real quick. But since I am a betting man, I think the smart money would be on Scalise. Gut instinct, because he's, like I said, he's the House Majority Whip. He's kind of the next in line in that hierarchy. However, he has, I believe, blood cancer. So that, for me, that weighs in pretty heavily for people in power. Not at all. I mean, Feinstein voted one day and died the next. Allegedly, she voted. I'm sure it was her that did the voting. Almost positive. So health is not really an issue when it comes to these people. Let's see. We got U.S. politics, 2024 presidential odds. Democratic nominee, Republican nominee, U.S. politics specials. All right. So I was dead on my. Pop this up over here. Steve Scalise is the favorite. He's at plus 100, so that's pretty much even money. Well, that is even money. You bet 100, win 100. Tom Emmer is next up. He's I believe they said he's from Minnesota. Don't know anything about him at all. He's at plus 350. Patrick McHenry, he's the doofus with the bow tie. Trying to slam the gavel down with authority. He's next up at plus 400. Elise Stefanik is at plus 500. Kevin McCarthy is plus 700. Jim Jordan plus 800. They think McCarthy has a better chance than Jim Jordan. McCarthy said he's not running, but that guy's flip-flopped always, so it wouldn't surprise me too much to see him throw his hat in the ring again, but I think that dude's done. I mean, he'll still win his House seat in Bakersfield, I'm sure, but I think his days at the top of the House leadership are probably just about over. Hakeem Jeffries, he's the House Minority Leader, so the Democrats get the majority, he'll be Speaker of the House. He's at plus 1,500. Garrett Graves, I don't know who that is, plus 1,500. Tom Cole plus 1,600. Gary Palmer, I don't know who either of those two are. Matt Gaetz is at plus 3,000. Rich Hudson also, I don't know who that is. Byron Donalds, I'd heard his name floated out there. He's kind of a big black guy I believe he's from Florida. Maybe New Jersey. I don't know. Probably not either one of those, but I want to say Florida, but anyway, he sounds okay. He's at plus 4,000 with large marge. Brian Fitzpatrick. I don't know. Lauren Boebert's at plus 10,000. That's who I think should be Speaker of the House. Donald Trump's at plus 2,000. But they've got him all the way at the bottom for some reason. But at plus 2,000. Paul Gosar's plus 15,000. Lauren Boebert's at plus 10,000. So, yeah, that's bet $100 win 10,000 if Boebert is. That'd be so much fun. I would enjoy that immensely. Never happen. But boy, it'd be fun. Donald Trump at plus 2,000, so that would put him right after, right between Tom Cole and Gary Palmer, who they sound boring as shit. So, it'll be interesting. I think they vote next week. And the longer it takes, the less chance they have to spend any more of your money. So while they're figuring this shit out, they can't pass anything new to take more of your money. So that's a good thing for the American public. Well, Donald Trump as if he was Speaker of the House, they would finally get serious about the impeachment inquiry. Like he would push that through, and I think it's probably safe to say that he would try like hell to get both Joe and Kamala impeached in the House. It would never go anywhere in the Senate. But I wouldn't be surprised if he could get them both impeached in the House. It'd be playing it pretty close, though. I don't know how he would do that, being the Speaker of the House and also campaigning for president at the same time. That would be, and also showing up in court constantly the whole time. It would it'd be something else. So Europe's doing good too. We'll head over there. AFD leader Krupala hospitalized after violent incident. So that is a political party called Alternative for Deutschland. They are according to, who is this? This is DW.com. I don't know what news site that is, but anyways, the far right Alternative for Germany party said co-leader Tino Charupla was injured in a violent incident at a campaign rally Wednesday in the southern German state of Bavaria, which is that's kind of where, was it Bavaria or Bohemia? Where anyway, it's all Nazi territory, but I think that was like a particularly heavy concentration of Nazis in Germany. Anyway, he had been, the national office for that party said he'd been hospitalized in the city of Ingolstadt, where he'd been attending a campaign rally ahead of Sunday's state elections in Bavaria. A brief police statement said Trupala had been given medical treatment backstage about 4:30 p.m. and then was taken to a hospital, but an obvious injury was not apparent at the time. And AFD spokesman told German DPA news agency late on Wednesday that Trupala's condition was stable and that he'd be under intensive medical surveillance overnight. Further details were not made available. Police launched an appeal for witnesses. It called on those who attended the rally to provide photos or videos of the event. Police spokesman said that an investigation would look into whether a third party was involved. A witness at the local daily, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, told this local daily newspaper that the AFD leader had taken a few selfies and then collapsed before being transported to the hospital. A local party representative told the DPA news agency that Trupala had been scheduled to speak at the event, but he had gotten caught up in a crowd melee. Later Wednesday, Andreas Eichele, spokesperson for the Upper Bavarian Police, said it remained unclear whether the politician had been attacked, fallen, or simply wasn't feeling well. Achilles said authorities were not ruling anything out and that an investigation was ongoing. Anyway, so they're considered a far right party. And apparently they're fairly popular. Probably not a good thing that Germany's getting nationalistic. That's not real great. There's been kind of a surge of these right-wing parties in Europe here lately, and to jog your memory a little bit, both fascism and communism were invented in Europe. They don't got a good track record, and I'm not sure that they've maybe that we've got far enough away from World War II that people are like, they kind of forget, and they're like, we'll give that a try again. We'll give fascism a try again, and probably not going to end great. Probably not great. If I had to bet on that one, I'd say probably not end out real great. Ukraine has they've got some problems with corruption, but they've also been kind of dealing some blows against Russia. Russia is apparently preparing the civilian population for World War III, and they've got them training for nuclear drills. Sirens blared out across Russia today, and children donned gas masks as part of a terrifying drill for an incoming nuclear attack. So this was there you go. You got a bunch of looks like high school students in gas masks. Chilling footage shows school children being taught how to correctly don gas masks. Most people, I would say 9 out of 10 people, when you say school children, you're picturing like elementary school, smaller kids, like kind of like my kids are 6 and 8. That would be all the way up to about 12. It'd be what I picture when somebody said school children. High schoolers, technically they are school children, but that's kind of a little shifty sleight of hand deal when you say school children in one of your headlines, and then you show a bunch of like probably 17, 18-year-olds. I'm like, still kids, but like, little shifty if you ask me. Chilling footage shows school children being taught how to correctly don gas masks. Sirens and loudspeakers were sounded in all regions across Russia's 11 time zones. They've got 11 time zones. Holy shit. In drills that spawned 2 days. It was Russia's first nationwide civil defense exercise as Putin indoctrinates his people about the danger of the West triggering nuclear war. As Putin indoctrinates his people about the danger. Well, seems to be kind of where it's headed. So indoctrinating, maybe warning would be a good word too. This is a pretty blatant propaganda piece, but message sounded declaring attention everyone as a bone-chilling alarm bellowed out in cities and towns everywhere. Emergency services gathered in hazmat suits to carry out protocol as part of Mad Vlad's sick exercise. This is it's the U.S. Sun. Okay, so that's like they're like an edgier version of the New York Post, which is already kind of edgy as far as traditional news outlets go. So, not quite a tabloid, but not exactly not a tabloid either. So, but they're making it sound like Russia's, out of their mind, crazy and paranoid. Meanwhile, back on the ranch, so this is from Vice. Air Force successfully tested secret new stealth missile with mock nuke. So it seems like both of us are kind of preparing for nuclear war, which is alarming to say the least. Not a good trend I'd like to see. I mean, I guess they're updating some of our old nukes so they can fire these new their old nuclear warheads on these fancy new missiles. And I mean, that's I wouldn't mind seeing one of them tested, not the nuke itself, but the missile. That shit's kind of cool. It's also horrifying. You're like, can we? Maybe Putin's got a point about the escalation towards nuclear war thing. Like, well, you both are doing nuclear tests in one way, shape, or form. Like, I don't like that. Don't like that. Where was this other? All right, so this one was also kind of interesting. I'll have to see what Dave DeCamp over at Anti-War News has to say about that's a really good website. So it's antiwar.com. And Dave DeCamp does a Monday through Friday does a news show. It's called Anti-War News. You can get it on YouTube or all the podcast stuff. But I listen to that every day. It's it's a really usually like 20 to 30 minutes long. But also antiwar.com. That's a good website to stay kind of up to date on foreign policy and foreign affairs and all the hot war zones around the world that we typically have some sort of hand in one way or the other. It's a good way to stay informed on that. But so this is from the Wall Street Journal, though, so I'll have to see what if Dave DeCamp has anything on this. But it says Russia withdraws its Black Sea fleet vessels from Crimea after Ukrainian attacks. So they were able to. We've been giving them some longer range missiles. The Brits have given them what they call the Storm Shadow missiles, and those have they have a range of about 180 miles, and the Ukrainians can shoot them from their old Soviet style MiG fighter jets. So they've been using those and a bunch of like floating drones. So like bunch of those like little remote control speedboats packed with bombs to sink a whole bunch of Russian ships in the Black Sea, and they've used missiles to hit them too. And then they bombed the headquarters of the Russian Black Sea fleet. They're in I think what's that? I think it's Sevastopol is like the big city there on the Crimean Peninsula. And it looks like Russia's taken their Black Sea fleet to the other side of Crimea back towards the Russian mainland. So they're not a big fan of their ships getting sunk. So they're moving them out of the way. So that's a pretty big win for the Ukrainians. I don't know what they'll be able to accomplish from it, but I mean, chalk that up as a win. That's kind of a big deal. They there was that big stink here a little while ago. Came out that Elon Musk had denied access to Starlink over Crimea, and because of that, the Ukrainians weren't able to use their little drone boats to attack one of the big ships in Russia's Black Sea fleet. And like Elizabeth Warren was wanting him to be investigated for interfering in the battle plans or whatever, and Um, I mean, it seems kind of weird that that Elon Musk, one guy, has that much input on a on a fucking war between two European countries. That seems wild, but um, also, I mean, it seems like that those little drone attacks and then the missile attacks there, like that seems like it's having some sort of an effect. And I mean, it's as much as I think I'd really like to see this conflict be resolved peacefully here, like as quick as possible, because there's a shitload of young Ukrainian and Russian men just getting slaughtered in this thing. I mean, in the hundreds of thousands, you know, from just about any account you read, there's combined, it's easily into the hundreds of thousands. And however, being the military strategery nerd that I am, it is pretty fascinating to see how when they're fighting on land, they've kind of reverted back to the old Soviet style of waging war, where they just throw bodies at, like, right into the teeth of the enemy lines, and both sides. I mean, because Ukraine was part of Russia for a long time. They have a very similar style of fighting war, where they just like it's just like slow meat grinder type operations, where it just wave after wave after wave that gets chewed up until eventually they just keep coming and they overwhelm you. You run out of ammo or whatever, and you're either overrun or you gotta pull back. But you got a big country versus a small country, and they're both kind of doing the same thing. But it was really interesting talking to some of those special forces guys when I was there in Colorado a couple weeks ago, where they know people over in Ukraine on the ground in a an advisory role. I wouldn't be surprised if they're mixing it up a little bit over there as well. But they say there's just drones everywhere, like these your standard drones that you can buy off of Amazon. They're just everywhere. The Ukrainians have them, the Russians have them. All the NATO advisors, I'm sure, have them as well, because they're showing them how to run all this stuff. And then you've got private companies that are just like begging the Ukrainians to use their drones so they can. It's just it's kind of fascinating, and it's so like they were saying, you'd see drones overhead, just like a whole flock of them, and then next thing you know, there'd be an artillery strike called down on you, and just it's kind of a crazy mixture of the old school with new technology that I guess I didn't quite see that one coming. And it's pretty insane how heavily both sides have been relying on drone technology here in this Russia Ukraine deal. But yeah, and that's this Black Sea fleet, like them essentially performing a naval retreat. A lot of that had to do with those drone boats that they were using to blow up ships, and I would imagine those things are pretty tough to detect. I don't know, I don't know how the sonar and on all the all the radar systems on a naval ship work. So, but I would imagine those little drone boats are fairly small and are able to. I would imagine they'd be able to slip under the son, without being detected by sonar as readily as say like an actual warship. So it's I said it's just kind of fascinating. Let's see. And speaking of technology, this is a doozy. Los Angeles is using AI to prevent homelessness. Los Angeles County officials are hoping new technology that poses a threat to some industries could be the saving grace in turning around the region's homelessness problem. I've never been to LA, besides the airport. But it sounds like there's just homeless people everywhere in LA. And I don't know what they do about it, but this is creepy as shit. So, writers and actors went on strike in part to prevent artificial intelligence from taking their jobs. But the burgeoning tech is widely believed to have great potential in other areas. In this case, local officials are hoping it can prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. On Wednesday, NPR reported that the LA County Department of Health Services is using data and machine learning to identify those most at risk of becoming homeless and step in before they become unhoused. It seems like there's a lot of Fourth Amendment violations. Like, how are they getting your data? How are they identifying you? How are they allowed to identify you? Even if they are trying to help, like how are they able to just find you? Like, hey, you look like you might be on the verge of being homeless. Here we are to help. No way this could be used for other sinister methods of government abuse. No way that could ever happen. Homelessness continues to increase year over year in Southern California, despite billions of dollars being spent to help stem the flow. That could be due in part to the way the money is being spent. You think? For instance, delays have meant some projects being funded by Proposition HHH cost more than $800,000 per unit created, as reported by the Associated Press. So to make essentially it was like a tiny house. I think they had proposed putting all these homeless people up in tiny houses, and it was going to cost $800,000 to build one. That's that'll buy you a nice home in most everywhere in the country outside of your major cities. 800,000 buys you a really nice home. These factors mean the number of homeless people just keeps going up. On average, these are weird numbers. For every 207 individuals who exit homelessness daily, 220. Oh, so this is daily. Never mind. On a scale to from 1 to 207, I'm a 227. So for every 207 individuals who exit homelessness daily, 227 more enter, including roughly 16 individuals who return to homelessness after 6 months. So, yeah, every day you're at a minus 20. Every day you're just adding another 20 people in, and then every 6 months you're getting like another 16 on top of that. Yeah, it's a bucket with a hole in it. So we've got to do something to fill that hole. Dana Vanderford, who leads the homelessness prevention unit for Housing for Health. Homelessness Prevention Unit of Housing for Health, division of DHS, explained to NPR. A lot of acronyms right there. But identifying and helping people remain in their homes, the but by identifying and helping people remain in their homes, the numbers of newly homeless will decrease, allowing the numbers of overall homeless people in the area to go down. At least that's the plan. Some questions remain as to the project's effectiveness and methods, and the final impact may not be known until a study on the topic is published in 2026. When speaking with NPR, Beth Shin, an expert on the subject for Vanderbilt University and an advisor to the program, noted that you may have more failures with LA's artificial intelligence methods as opposed to the traditional ways of getting people off the street. However, if it works, you could make the most difference for people who are at the highest risk, she said. Yeah, that sounds just like another way for the government to spy on you. That's yeah, that's frightening. Like, I mean, just they're like, hi, we're with LA County, and we got a notification here on the app that you might be a poor. Here's some things you can do to not be a poor so you don't lose this house that you're living in, because our records show that you're about to lose it. Just about there. There's a lot of union strikes going on here lately as well. So there's the auto worker strike, the writers, the Hollywood writers agreed to a deal, but I think the actors are still on strike. I don't know. Have not really been affected that much by the writers and actors guild strikes. I hate to say it. The auto worker one is interesting. The auto workers got screwed pretty heavily during the bailouts back in 2008. They took some pretty heavy pay cuts and a lot of layoffs, but their contract is up and they're out for blood now, and they're asking for like a 4-day work week and a 40% increase in pay. And I can't afford a new pickup anyways at the moment. So I mean, I hope they get what they're all they're asking for and whatever. I hope it works out for them. I just know a couple of years when this round of inflation hits the vehicles that these auto workers are going to be making, I still won't be able to afford it. Hopefully by then I'll be closer to being able to afford a new pickup, but who knows? But now we got healthcare workers are striking. I didn't know they had a union. I'm pretty new to the whole union stuff. I know Colorado has a pretty strong teachers union. I don't recall if my mom was in the teacher union or not. I'm guessing not, but I don't really know. My wife is not in the teachers union. My father-in-law was a sheet metal worker in the union for a while, on and off. But so this is at Kaiser Permanente. Tens of thousands of Kaiser Permanente workers took to picket lines in multiple states on Wednesday, launching a massive strike that the company warned could cause delays at hospitals and clinics that serve nearly 13 million Americans. The coalition of Kaiser Permanente unions, representing about 85,000 of the health system's employees, nationally approved a strike for 3 days in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. I don't know if we have Kaiser Permanente in Nevada. I would imagine so. Anyway, I don't know what they're striking about, but Kaiser has not been bargaining with us in good faith, so it's pushing us to come out here and strike, said Jacqueline Dooley, radiologic technologist among the hundreds of picketers at Kaiser Permanente, Orange County, Irvine Medical Center. We want to be inside just taking care of our patients. The Oakland-based nonprofit company said it's 39 hospitals, nonprofit. I'm sure they don't make a profit at all. Including emergency rooms will remain open. Doctors are not participating, and Kaiser said it was bringing in thousands of temporary workers to fill the gaps. Still, appointments and non-urgent procedures could be pushed back. I wonder if if this thing gets drug out for a long time. I wonder if they call up the National Guard to help in the their medical units get called up to help with the nursing roles. I think, isn't that what they did in New York when they were firing people for not getting the completely safe and effective and never did a wrong thing to nobody COVID vaccine that was thoroughly tested all the way around, and nothing bad could be said about it ever because it's delicious and humble and sensual and will 100% cure COVID at all times. But I think when they fired a bunch of people for not getting that in New York, they called up the National Guard to fill the backlog. So I wonder if that happens here with Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser said in a statement late Wednesday, while no contract deal was reached, there were tentative agreements on a number of unspecified issues. The company said it would reconvene bargaining as soon as possible. So, yeah, it'll be fun one to see how that plays out too, I guess. I'm not really a union guy, like I said, but I've never been around it. Believe it or not many union industries in Southeast Colorado that I'm aware of, or at least not in extreme Southeast Colorado where I grew up. So I don't know how all this stuff works, but it's interesting, and it's really interesting that it's all happening during this booming economy under Bidenomics. You've got all sorts of union strikes going on right now, and interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. One thing I know for sure is that the companies will not take a hit. They may agree to all the demands for the automobile workers, but they're just going to pass that off on to the new cars that get built. They're not going to take a hit, but eventually they'll probably move their plants out of wherever they're at now and move them to Mexico or China, because they can get people to work for a whole lot cheaper. Don't have to pay them a pension or anything like that. So, well, I see the benefit of the unions. I also, it's almost just inevitable that you're going to price yourself out of a job, and that's kind of how the market works. So, anyways, I've got no love for these giant corporations, or in this case, a nonprofit hospital that I'm sure they're doing the Lord's work by selling Tylenol for $27, unlike these other greedy vultures selling it for $28 a pill. So I'm kind of on the side of the unions, just because I'm not a big fan of these corporations, but also I'm like, You guys are probably pricing yourself out of a job too. So, I don't know. It's another one of those situations where I've got a lot of opinions, but I'm also not afraid to say that I don't really know. I don't know enough about this shit. It's like betting on college football for me. I kind of know some things about it, but not enough to be well versed by any means. So, hopefully those homos will be back next week. I think Tim is pissing out of his ass right now. He said he was really sick. He has from what I understand, he has herpes of the mouth, anus, and scrotum. So I mean, thoughts and prayers with Tim and his leaking asshole. Rob doesn't believe in thoughts and prayers because he's a non-practicing Jew. And yeah, so you can send some good vibes his way because the Bears really suck. So much so that they lost to the Broncos, and that's probably gotta hit old Rob a little bit hard. He's a diehard Bears fan, so good thing about it is he is used to losing. So like it's pretty rough to be a Bronco fan here last 6-7 years, especially since we traditionally are pretty good. So it kind of sucks. But Rob has got some thick skin because the last time the Bears were good was when he was born in 85. They haven't been good since. They made it to a couple Super Bowls and lost spectacularly. But hey, don't go hard on him. I mean, it's not his fault. He was born in the suburbs of Chicago and was indoctrinated early into that loser fan base. So, and then, yeah, Aaron's just a douche, also gay. Rumor has it he was out due to some real gay shit. So, thoughts and prayers to him too. You guys have a good week. Don't forget to practice your nuclear Holocaust drills. We want to be ahead of Russia, and if they're already doing nuclear drills, we've got to do 10 nuclear drills. Okay, we got to stay ahead of them. The Cold War is back on, baby. Anyway, have a good week and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right.